ILDC is diversifying and we are bringing in different sectors and actors together. This last plenary is going to be treated with urban land, real estate and housing. So where we have got two keynote speakers, and this session will be chaired by Professor Anil Kashyap, who is also an advisor to ILDC and he recently was president of McMahon University and is now going to also start a new venture which we will be discussing soon. So can I request the dais to the keynote speaker and the chair to come to the dais. Can I request Professor Kashyap to pass on to the dais which will be chairing the session. And we have with us also Mr. Mukesh Mehta, who is the chairman of MN Project Consultants Private Limited, which is an architect firm based out of Mumbai, and Mr. Mehta is known for his work around Dharvi and is seated. So we will have a long introduction of all these keynote speakers once they are on the stage and before they start speaking, but I'm just giving a small introduction to you and inviting me. Mukesh Mehta ji, can you please come to the dais? And I also have the privilege to invite Sri Shekhar Patel, and Shekhar Patel is known for his illustrious work around real estate in Ahmedabad and Gujarat, and he is the president of the Plenary National. I request my colleague, please. I request my colleague Jasmine to please introduce Professor Kashyap.
Good evening to all. I would like to introduce our chair for this session, Dr. Anil Kashyap. Dr. Anil Kashyap is a thought leader and institution builder with background in construction and real estate academia in India and abroad. He has led the transformation of NICMAR campuses in Pune and Hyderabad into state private universities, added Delhi NCR campus and NICMAR Online, a digital education vertical, to name a few of his credits, and also served as the founding chancellor of NICMAR universities for 4 years. Dr. Kashyap served on various boards and committees, Advisory Committee for Central Excellence, SPA Delhi, Trustee of Rasa Trust and Festa Foundation, working towards sustainable communities. Dr. Kashyap has held senior academic leadership roles in several large universities in the United Kingdom. Dr. Kashyap is distinguished alumni of NIT Kurukshetra, SPA New Delhi, and Ulster University in the UK. He received training in higher education leadership and change management from Harvard University. His endeavor for higher education in India is to transform built environment education to fill the skill gap for meeting the grand vision of Viksit Bharat. In doing so, Dr. Kashyap is leading the establishment of a specialist real estate university announced by Plenary National President Mr. Shekhar Patel in his inaugural speech in May 2025. Over to you.
Thank you for the kind introduction. Good evening, distinguished speakers, esteemed colleagues, ILDC participants, delegates, ladies and gentlemen. It is a privilege to welcome you all to this plenary session of our second day of ILDC. Plenary sessions, they serve as a point of sort of knowledge which is coming from the thought leaders in the industry and are disseminated here in the form of keynote speeches. And we have got two distinguished speakers today for the plenary session on land, real estate and housing. As you all know, land in many ways is quite an important resource. It is quite scarce as well. And the judicious and sustainable use of land would really a way forward for looking at the future developments. And we should be aiming for some of these new interventions and innovations which industry leaders, thought leaders, academics, as well as researchers, they would bring in here in the form of their knowledge and try and bring some policy changes. In doing so, this plenary session will bring some insightful, outcomes of the personal experiences of the keynote speakers, and also will, bring the messages and learnings which we can have it, take away for the future as well. So let me, welcome the keynote speakers of this afternoon. And first keynote speaker is architect Mukesh Mehta. Architect Mukesh Mehta, chairman of Project Consultants Private Limited, is a global leader in sustainable, inclusive urban and rural development, best known for pioneering the Dharavi redevelopment project and advancing citizen-centric, equity-focused model of growth. Embedding himself in Dharavi from 1998, he conducted over 2,500 plus resident meetings to co-design a social entrepreneurship-driven model that integrates informal communities into the formal economy. He also helped redraft Maharashtra's development control regulations and informed national housing programs under HUPA, creating scalable framework that unites housing with education, healthcare, livelihood, culture, and eco-sensitive planning for slum-free cities. As an esteemed speaker at UN, Habitat, Harvard, Berkeley, Columbia, and the London School of Economics, Mr. Mehta collaborates internationally to advance sustainable urban policy and continues to mentor transformative educational and environmental initiatives in India and beyond. It is my privilege to welcome Mr. Mehta to deliver his keynote speech. Please, sir.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I have a bit of a stiff voice challenge. It has to do with some hormonal issues from the brain. Typically, it may inconvenience you, and I could have avoided it by having 2 drinks. After that, the voice relaxes. But this is a state with prohibition. So, I guess you'll have to endure it. About 28 years ago, I walked into Dharavi to take on the development of Dharavi. People called it a pie in the sky. Before that, I used to build expensive custom homes in Long Island, New York. And also, I was an industrialist. So my son thinks I'm versatile. My wife believes I'm confused. My wife may not always be right, but she's never wrong. So I had no understanding 28 years ago of what slums are all about. And just to understand that as an entrepreneur, I set up my first office in Dharavi in context of slum redevelopment. I'm not an economist, I'm not a social scientist, and so everything, and I'm not much of this intellectual guy who reads economics books and social science books. So I sort of discovered on my own, and I'm trying to share with you what I discovered. So amongst the things that I did was, as the Honorable Chairperson said, I set up I had over 2,500 meetings, not in Dharavi. This is across the world, in East Africa, in South Africa, Karnataka, Ahmedabad, all these places, just to understand slum people, etc. And today I think I can communicate with them better than I can communicate with you. I become sort of quite well integrated with them. And in that, most of the time we say, social scientists, economists, mostly and planners say, that we must have inclusive development, inclusive growth, by which I think they mean the slum dwellers, or the urban poor. In my opinion, inclusive means all the people who are affected. And I feel that there are 4 major segments of people affected. One is the slum dweller. So what does he say? I've come from a village. I've come as a migrant. I'm aspiring. I'm rebelling against the pathetic conditions in the village. And so I've come to Mumbai or come to any city. And I want to better my life. Why can't I be having as dignified a life as any of you people? I'm Indian after all. This is his complaint. I'm saying his, it means his and hers, but otherwise it will get too long. The second is the landowner. He says, after a lot of work, I bought this property and now it's encroached and the government is saying, you manage it. It's your problem. You did not protect it. And it's not fair to me. This is his problem. Then we have citizens and taxpayers who say, look, we are paying taxes to improve the quality of life. Instead of which, a lot of money of ours from the exchequer is being spent to service the urban poor. Because as most of the NGOs, a lot of agencies, they say, these poor people, they're living a wretched life, we can't do this, we have to give them education, we have to give them basic health care, etc. And it's not fair. And so, in a place like Mumbai, 25 to 35, maybe 40% of its municipal budget is spent only on education and health care of the urban poor. Apart from that, electricity theft, the water subsidies, etc., etc., no tax, almost no tax. So, at the end of the day, the citizen is upset about it. And then the fourth player is the government, which says, all of you are correct, but where do I have knowledge or the resources? And so they come up with expedient solutions. Sometimes to please the slum dweller, sometimes to please the voter, sometimes to please the landowner. And in the bargaining, they have come up with solutions. I am more familiar with Maharashtra. So since 1997, they came up with the Slum Rehabilitation Authority Slum Act. Slum Act they came up in 72, but this one in which they leveraged the land as a resource, the slum encroached land. And they got into private-public partnership with private developers. And they say a part of the land you develop and give free housing, some basic housing, 225 square feet in those days, it's increased to about 300 square feet now. And you have to give them a toilet, you have to give kitchen and a living space about 225. Apart from that, you have to give them a small balwadi, 225 square feet for 100 families, 225 square feet welfare center for 100 families, and a society office. And let's try to improve. Now, unfortunately, this is a model that has been propagated across the world by 2 major agencies, the World Bank and the UN Habitat, and their thought process is that low-cost housing is the solution for slum. We should at least give them some dignity. And this is the part that I have this disagreement with them or I differ with them. And I'd like any of you to later challenge me on that. So the Maharashtra model is, you use land as a resource and they give incentives based upon value of the land in Mumbai. Other parts are still developing. The red is that they give piecemeal development, plot by plot by plot, isolated development. It's low cost, low income housing and therefore low quality housing. And slum dwellers cannot maintain. Understand, middle income people, if you come to Mumbai, several cities, they don't paint their outside of the building and they're still collecting a lot of mobs. They ignore socio-economic hierarchy. A lot of slum dwellers are living there. There are doctors, there are lawyers, there are educators, and they are painted with the same brushstroke and given the same amenities instead of giving them an opportunity to get out of the slum, this thing, through the basic amenities. And based on Dharavi model, finally in 2009, they came up with a thought, yeah, we can't give away free. So let's start at least getting some cost on the developer. So now they take 25% of the ready reckoner value. I do not agree with this model and I will explain to you why. And so this is the solution. Ultimately, they are creating vertical slums across India, across the world. And therefore, you have two segregated societies. There is a part who sitting here who will never send their children, grandchildren to play in these areas. And they don't want to come in your areas because they also feel isolated, uncomfortable. So the ramification is that this model is perpetuating inequalities. It keeps poor people poor, it segregates citizenry, and they will hardly, a few will come out of slum. And I've seen people in Dharavi living for 50 years, 60 years, 70 years, still in slum because now they can't afford to get out. I'm sorry. So, based upon my lack of book knowledge, just common sense observing, I've come to a conclusion that there are 8 factors that determine the quality of life. The purpose is to give them good quality of life. If we give slum dwellers good quality of life, we will also have good quality of life. In a place like Mumbai, 54% of people live in slums, and trust me, that figure is going to be increased year after year because people will migrate from the villages and you don't have affordable housing. So the 8 factors are quality of housing, and I call it high heights. It's an acronym I've given. So quality of housing, quality of infrastructure, healthcare, income generation, knowledge or education, environment, socio-cultural development, and security. Unless you give all the 8, you cannot improve quality of life. So high heights, for example, in Geneva may be superior to high heights in Mumbai. And so the quality of life of people in context of urban living, I'm not talking emotional and other issues, will be superior in a developed country versus us. Quality of high heights for all of us here is superior to that of the slum dwellers. And therefore our quality of life is improved. Now if you want to make it inclusive, reduce that inequality. The present model perpetuates that equality because they are hand to mouth. While the rest of us have more and more discretionary income, and therefore we have vacations and we have various other things, and our children and grandchildren have gotten into drugs and so many other unnecessary things. So my model is, let's accept land as a resource, and property value should be based upon incentives. Beyond that, I have changed, not single plots, but take whole cluster. For example, in a municipal ward or an MLA constituency, because MLA will not let his vote bank go. So MLA constituency, but it is an in situ development in a relatively large area, but not crazy large area. You're not shifting them away somewhere. So it becomes a cluster development. Recently, thank God, since last 3-4 years, the government of Maharashtra is mending its thing to go through cluster development. We want to build high quality homes with 21st century designs. Now, essentially, if you are going to rebuild 50% of Mumbai, 60% of Mumbai, why should I not compete with China? Instead of having learned what I learned in 1972, the same old master's model. Why can't we follow what the world is doing and become leaders? That's what we are doing in our setup. We gave, for the first time in Dharavi, we insisted that the developer in tender and in DC route, that the developer has to give 15 years guarantee on external paint, lift, leakages, etc. Now, even you and I don't get 15 years guarantee. You're not giving 15 years guarantee, are you? Okay. So the bottom line is, this is accepted, and after that we got crazy response for Dharavi. And high hikes we do through public-private partnership. Why should taxpayers' money be used only to service the urban poor? The nation needs environment. The nation needs strong defense, nation building. So, the model we have created is to give education, healthcare, etc. through public-private partnership, and in which case the quality of education for healthcare and for education and healthcare quality will be identical to you or us. And that is the model without 1 rupee to the taxpayer, 1 rupee from the exchequer. We have to think of slum dwellers as important human resources, because in my 28 years in Dharavi, I have found most of them are equal to any of us here. At least 10% of them are smarter than I am. And they all work much harder than I do. There's a lot more fire in their belly. And just as developed countries develop our NRIs and others who can someday become chief of Google, chief of PepsiCo and lot of others, we have those kind of resources. We have the Tendulkars and the Dhonis in Dharavi who are suppressed. And if we harness those human resources, they will start spending. That becomes engine for economic development, the way our NRIs are spending. And that fuels also the economy instead of we servicing it. And all this is common sense. I'm not giving you figures. This will happen and that will happen. We give them the opportunity with that kind of income. We give them the opportunity to come out of shit. I'll just give you 2 examples. A few years ago, I interacted with the director of NIT, who was the director before my son-in-law, Dr. Koshi. And when I discussed this concept, he agreed to set up a campus in Dharavi. He said, I'm going to have those leather craftsmen. I'm going to have those pottery people. Give them designer skills, and we sell their products, branded products, in museums across the world. And you can imagine what happens, what kind of income levels rise. So this is the model, this is the housing complex we are right now involved in the Deputy Chief Minister of Maharashtra, Eknath Shinde's constituency. And you will see the garden, etc. The houses are small because that's government policy. But in this we are giving 15 years guarantee, external paint also. This is the housing for people who migrated during our independence. It's a Sindhi, Punjabi community for most part. And this is the Calabar area with 450 square feet. Today they have 180 square feet. From that they get this. But apart from that, to the slum dwellers, in their we give them cyber cafe. We give them halls for chess, etc. room, chess or whatever games you want to have. So just like any other amenity, only slightly smaller, a little more dense. And if along with this we have opportunity to sell. So if you are going to sell, let's make future. So this is housing. This is for the same component, we've given housing. This is 20 stories, all vertical gardens. In another project, we used this kind of concept for hostels. This is the infrastructure. In Thane, this will come up as a skyline, half a kilometer long, on top of the road, and this is as good as any in the world. And we are saying, if we are going to rebuild India, let's rebuild it to 21st century, not the same things that we have learned. I have learned 52 years ago, 53 now. We can do the future thing because you have fantastic architects across the world who can inspire us. So just to give you an example, this bridge is going to cost my client 80 crores. But the property, sorry, I'll come to that part. Then we are going to give this caliber of hospital, day surgery polyclinics to the slum builders. 2 days of the week they will use for free. 5 days of the week the rest of us. So in a sense, the bed linen, the same bed, same operation theatre, same doctor, same nurses, same post-op treatment, all of this is for the slum builders. And we created a public-private partnership model for this. Zero money anymore for municipal hospitals. This was the commercial side where those same people who had small shops, they will be a part of the main street shopping from the same portion that we have. And this is that caliber. And that bridge takes them to these levels. This is the commercial, this thing. I just want to show you one thing. You see that blue water kind of marine life thing. That's a 92,000 square feet digital screen on 7 floors of a car park. Below the red things that you see is the Thane railway line. You have 10 lakh eye points with 16 megapixels 3D view. Now imagine the money that it will make. It makes your housing for free. You make money and you can do your maintenance, etc. to nth degree. So if we are doing anything, let's compete with China. Let's do better than what they are doing. Instead of trying to say I'm competing with my teachers who were teaching me in 1972. Again, this is the part of commercial complex in Thane. So we are trying to now compete with Bandra Kurla complex, with Nariman Point, with New York, with Dubai. We are saying this can happen in slum and this is acceptable. What happened to the client? He came with me with a certain profit target, certain sales target. Because of the design, the top 4 brokerage firms told him that instead of 15,000 rupees per square foot, Mr. Halde, you can sell for 25,000 per square foot. His profit shot up 4 times, 400%, while his cost may have gone up by 15-20%. So you can rebuild, you're talking of value addition. This is value addition. After he had to show this to the Deputy Chief Minister because it's his constituency. After he showed him, originally my client had 19 acres to develop. Mr. Shinde got so happy, he said, I'm giving you the whole 42 or 45 hectares to develop. So the client's profit shot up 4 times first, and then beyond that 5 times, 22.5 times, because of the design. Now most of the time there might be some developers, some architects. So I'm going to share something with you. Most of the time developers try to nickel and dime architects. And they say, this guy is doing for 28 rupees per square foot, can you do it for 27? My client pays me full fees. In this case, he gave me 1.5 times. He said, I've not seen something like this. And so my advice, if you're not there, get good architects, pay them well, but make them not do copy-paste stuff, which is what I'm seeing around. This is what I had done for IIM Gurgaon. Ultimately, that project fell through, where the chairman of Rohtak told me, I want to beat any IIM of India. I'm giving you 2 months. So this was their incubation hub that was created. And they loved it, but they said, you're not on our panel, so instead you give us your design, we'll have our local person do it. I said, I can't compromise. So I didn't charge fees, but this is the kind of future India, I think, ought to be. And all of this is in-house. All of this is done by fresh graduates from college in Pune, and who've not got some fancy degrees from Harvard and Italy and Germany. This is a library for education. I'm going high heights. So in that context, this is a library, 1 lakh square feet, only high definition audio video, because books now you can get on the internet. This is the socio-cultural. This was the auditorium. Just one second. And this is all in-house. Now I'm saying, if my organization can do it, there are a lot better architects than I am, who can also do, but let's make an example to the world. And if you do that, I mean, we are talking of habitable sculptures. And how proud would you be? I just came back from the US, I'm still jet lagged, so if I'm babbling, it's because I'm jet lagged, I'm sleep talking. But I just came back from there. Those countries, their airports look like second world country airports. And our Mumbai airport looks absolutely a fantastic airport. So then I've created, over the years, a whole solution for making Maharashtra slum-free. Every city of Maharashtra slum-free. This is, I'll quickly show you that. So there are about 189 cities, and I said 15 years from today, we can make every city slum-free. I'll just give you the bigger things. So there are about 3 million families, and I said for the next 15 years, anyone who comes also will get them free. Apart from those, we'll create 10% what will be today's transit elements as future rental housing. We'll give it away to the government for free. We'll create, reduce inequalities amongst the slum dwellers through this public-private partnership model, and give fair compensation to landowners. Please bear in mind the 4 stakeholders who are grumbling that I showed you in the beginning. We've addressed them all. After that, the government of Maharashtra will make between 3 to 5 lakh crores. So we were the first ones to tell the government, don't give away Dharavi for free. Take a premium, because the developers can make a premium if you have an intelligent design. And based upon a micro calculation, and you, sir, can check my calculations and find fault. With cash flows, etc., we've shown minimum 3 lakh crores and up to 5 lakh crores in today's market. As the market goes up, it will be even. Future, no taxpayers' money for education, healthcare, environment, etc. In the developed areas of slums. All these things is developers' responsibility. And a part of this surplus fund, we will transfer to villages in rural development through Pura, provision of urban amenities in rural area, a thought created by Abdul Kalam Sahib. Today it is poorly implemented. But if they implement, we suggest, then we can modernize villages, increase village incomes by anything between 500 to 1000%. And there is one person in Ahmedabad, Mr. Gopal Sutaria, who is doing some fantastic job on this in terms of organic farming. And Mayank Gandhi, who was the co-founder of Aam Aadmi Party, he's broken up from them, is today managing 4,000 villages in Maharashtra and globally. And now others want to follow his model. I'm on his advisory board. So the point is, if you increase rural income fivefold, if you slum dwellers don't become a drain, what happens to your country's economy? Why 5 and 6 and 7%? We can go by 10% because the money will go in that development. Exceeded time? I'll rush to that. So this is Mumbai, and we've gone step by step. These are the 29 cities which out of 189, of which we've gone by population, and this is the model. They'll make 13 lakh crores. Okay, and from which they will share with the government 12 lakh crores. And this is the government's benefit. And all these are checked, and free to be checked by any. So this is how, step by step in 5 stages, we made slum free. And if that happens by 2040, this is what could happen to Maharashtra's infrastructure. There are 5 reasons why people travel from any part of the world to any other part. One is healthcare. One is business. Education, environment, social culture. All of this you would be able to give to Mumbai, Maharashtra. But the great man says, we have all the possibilities, but we need political will. And what's good for us? Our great man says he has the political will, he has the vision, and all we have to do is share some knowledge that can make his dream come true of giving housing to all, smart, sustainable, inclusively. Thank you. Sorry for taking this.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mehta, for very insightful presentation.
Thank you, sir.
It's very interesting and sort of forward-looking idea, mainly centered around inclusive development and see how innovatively we can use land as a resource. And it takes me, sir, to my early 2000 time in United Kingdom when I was in Ulster University. We started a course called Creating Value Creation in Planning and Property Development. And exactly the things and ideas you have just shared with us, we had, shared with our students, how design can impact, design can influence, and bring lots of value into planning and property development. So I'm sure Maharashtra government would take note of this and perhaps take forward some of these proposals. And yes, there is a political will now, and we need housing. There is a shortage of housing, and our next speaker will be talking about how land can be leveraged to meet the housing demand. Before I introduce our next speaker, Mr. Shekhar Patel, let us give a big round of applause to Mr. Mehta for his insightful presentation. Thank you very much. I have got another very interesting keynote coming in here by Mr. Shekhar Patel, who is National President of CREDAI and Managing Director of Ganesh Housing Corporation Limited, one of the most respected and innovative developers in Ahmedabad. With his always out-of-box thinking and his mindset, he has continuously redefined the paradigms of urban development here in the city. And if you happen to go around and visit some of his development, you will be really mesmerized to see the kind of models and approaches to construction being adopted. And the one which I visited very recently is Me and Mine's SEZ development, which is a platinum rated building, a precast construction, and a fantastic grade 1 space, which is nearly ready for occupation in the first tower, and there are many more those examples. Mr. Patel has been widely recognized for his pioneering LPV advantage, and this unique formula is focused on location, planning and value. And I'm not saying more than this because we will be hearing something on those lines from him only, and how he has used location, planning and value in his projects and his endeavors. And lastly, he has got a special passion for sustainability and real estate education, which is really unique to hearsay. And he has now championed a project of setting up a real estate university in Ahmedabad, will be net zero campus and a 100-acre site to transform the real estate education, real estate skills and real estate profession. And that is so unique in combination with sustainability and development. And these two often goes hand in hand, but in many examples we don't see that happening in reality, but we will be realizing this idea and innovation in this particular university, and we will have it up and running in next 2 to 3 years in our own city of Ahmedabad. He is current president of CREDAI National and has got lots of things to contribute in terms of his policy as well as his advocacy. So without further ado, I would welcome Shekhar Bhai Patel here for his keynote and listen to his innovative things which he has done over his career spanning in real estate. Please welcome.
Good afternoon, friends. अनिल जी ने काफी ज्यादा ही तारीफ कर दी, इतना कुछ ज्यादा कुछ काम करता नहीं हूं मैं। बेसिकली मैं आज अलग टॉपिक पे यानी रियल एस्टेट डेवलपमेंट पे नहीं, पर इंडिया का जो अर्बन डेवलपमेंट है उस पर कुछ बात करना चाहूंगा विद योर काइंड परमिशन। The main problem today, India's population is 1.46 billion. हमारा इतना population है, उसमें से अर्बन population 38% है, तकरीबन 54 करोड़ लोग अर्बन एरियाज में रह रहे। जैसे सर ने बताया स्लम्स की बात की, 8 करोड़ लोग आज भी अर्बन स्लम्स में रह रहे। यानी मैं ये मेट्रोपॉलिटन सिटीज के स्लम्स की बात कर रहा हूँ, जो 53 सिटीज है इंडिया में, उसमें 8 करोड़ लोग स्लम्स में रह रहे। तो अपने इंडिया के पास ये अर्बन एरियाज में 12 करोड़ हाउसेज है, पक्के हाउस। तो 54 करोड़ लोग हैं तो उनके लिए घर है नहीं, और अर्बन एरियाज में अभी जगह भी नहीं गई है इन लोगों के लिए। तो क्या इसका सॉल्यूशन है? दूसरा, जब हम देख रहे हैं कि इंडिया का अभी पूरे इंडिया में बात चल रही है विजन 2047, 100 years ऑफ इंडियाज इंडिपेंडेंस। तो विजन 2047 में अर्बन एरियाज में क्या होगा? जो आज फिगर्स टारगेट की जा रही है, आई थिंक 1 billion people, 60% ऑफ इंडियन पॉपुलेशन विल स्टे इन अर्बन एरियाज। तो 1 बिलियन यानी 100 करोड़ लोगों को अर्बन एरिया में 2047 तक हमको समावेश करना है। तो आज जो हमारे पास 12 करोड़ घर है, उसकी जगह पे हमको एटलीस्ट 25 करोड़ हाउसेज इन अर्बन एरियाज में चाहिए, यानी अनदर 13 करोड़ घर अर्बन एरियाज में चाहिए। तो आज का जो अर्बन एरियाज है, ये जो मेन 53 मेट्रोपॉलिटन सिटीज है, और ज्यादातर लोगों को ये सिटी या ये सिटी के आसपास ही रहना है, इसीलिए ये सिटी का आउटस्कर्ट्स डेवलप हो रहा है, अनऑर्गेनाइजली डेवलप हो रहा है। तो क्यों ना हम इसके लिए कोई सॉल्यूशन निकालें, क्योंकि 13 करोड़ घर आज के अर्बन एरियाज में, आज के ये मेट्रोपॉलिटन सिटी में बनाना इज नेक्स्ट टू इम्पॉसिबल, वो संभव ही नहीं है। तो इसका सॉल्यूशन क्या है? तो मेरे हिसाब से ये एक मैंने काफी सारे लोग, सर जैसे काफी सारे थिंकर्स ने ये बात पहले भी रखी हुई है, और वहीं से वो ही आइडिया आप लोगों का लेके मैंने एक सोचा है कि सैटेलाइट सिटीज, आप सब ने काफी बार बात की है कि सैटेलाइट सिटीज होने चाहिए, और कहीं पर कई स्टेट दे हैव ट्राइड फॉर द सैटेलाइट टाउन्स एंड ऑल, बट इट हैज समवेयर मिजरेबली फेल्ड। व्हाई? बिकॉज जो सैटेलाइट सिटीज हम बना रहे हैं, यानी फॉर एग्जांपल अहमदाबाद की अगर बात करें, हम अहमदाबाद में बैठे हैं, तो अहमदाबाद के आसपास में 7-8 एग्जिस्टिंग टाउन्स है जिसको वी कैन कन्वर्ट इनटू द सैटेलाइट सिटी बाय प्रोवाइडिंग द मेट्रो कनेक्टिविटी, हाई स्पीड रेल और BRTS टू दैट सिटी, एंड वहां पर एक इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर, जो फिजिकल इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर, रोड, स्ट्रीट लाइट्स, ड्रेनेज वगैरह तो चाहिए ही, पर उनको एक सोशल इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर चाहिए। जो ये सैटेलाइट सिटीज में सोशल इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर माने एक अच्छे लेवल का स्कूल चाहिए, अच्छे लेवल की कॉलेज चाहिए, अच्छे लेवल की हेल्थ केयर फैसिलिटी चाहिए, अच्छे लेवल का एंटरटेनमेंट चाहिए। तो आज के दिन में मैं आपको एग्जांपल दूं, सानन कैन बिकम अ गुड सैटेलाइट सिटी ऑफ अहमदाबाद, पर आज सानन में अच्छे स्कूल्स नहीं है, अच्छी कॉलेज नहीं है, अच्छा हेल्थ केयर नहीं है। उसकी वजह से सानन में इंडस्ट्रियल डेवलपमेंट हो रहा है, वहाँ जॉब अपॉर्चुनिटी है, पर लोगों को वहाँ लैंड बेच के जो पैसा आता है, या जो वहाँ पर काम करके पैसा आता है, घर तो अहमदाबाद में ही बनाना, तो वो सानन से अहमदाबाद आ जाता है। तो बिकॉज हम वहाँ पर अच्छा सोशल इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर प्रोवाइड नहीं कर पा रहे। तो अभी ये जो 13 करोड़ नए घर बनाने हैं और 100 करोड़ का अर्बन पॉपुलेशन को अर्बन एरिया में रखना है, तो गवर्नमेंट को एक इनोवेटिव पॉलिसी, इनोवेटिव थिंकिंग करना पड़ेगा, एक नया पॉलिसी, एक इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर पॉलिसी बनाना पड़ेगा। और ये सब सिटी के लिए इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर में आज काफी मोदी साहब ने, सर ने बोला कि उनका विजन है, वो 2014 में जब प्राइम मिनिस्टर बने, उसके बाद में हम देखते हैं तो अर्बन इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर और रूरल भी, यानी उनका काफी फोकस है इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर पे। पर आज भी जो इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर बढ़ रहा है बॉम्बे में, काफी सारे सिटी में बहुत बड़े पैमाने पे इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर चल रहा है, पर इसको भी हमको 3 टाइम्स करना पड़ेगा। अगर 20 साल में पर ईयर हमको 65 होम्स बनाने, तभी जाके हम 13 करोड़ घर बना पाएंगे। आज के दिन में मेरे ख्याल से गवर्नमेंट और डेवलपर सब इकट्ठा मिलके पूरे इंडिया में 30 से 35 लाख घर बनाते हैं, तो ये इसको भी डबल करना पड़ेगा एवरी ईयर हमको। तो ये सब करने के लिए एक गवर्नमेंट की एक सॉलिड पॉलिसी होनी चाहिए। सिंगल विंडो अप्रूवल, हम बात करते रहते हैं पर कभी कुछ होता नहीं है। तो इस पे अभी हम सीरियस थॉट नहीं करेंगे और आज के दिन में हम इसको इम्प्लीमेंट नहीं करेंगे, तो फ्यूचर में अपने सब सिटी कोलैप्स होने वाले, जितने भी आज के सिटीज है वो सब सिटी कोलैप्स होने वाले हैं। इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर का कोलैप्स होगा, लोगों का हाउसिंग प्राइस बढ़ती जाएगी। अगर हम ये सैटेलाइट सिटीज, अहमदाबाद के आसपास में 5 सैटेलाइट सिटीज, सानंद है, कड़ी है, कलोल है, ऐसे सिटीज को सैटेलाइट सिटीज, अच्छे डेवलप सिटीज बना सके जिसका इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर अहमदाबाद के इक्विवेलेंट हो, सोशल इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर एंड फिजिकल इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर बोथ, तो इसका सॉल्यूशन हम अच्छे से निकाल सकते हैं। लोगों को एक अच्छे घर, रहने के लिए अच्छे घर दे सकते हैं, अच्छी सुविधाएं दे सकते हैं, और काफी तभी जाके हम ये विकसित भारत की जो बात कर रहे हैं, जो मोदी जी का भी सपना है विकसित भारत बाय 2047, पर डेवलप कंट्री का टैग लेके, यानी GDP से डेवलप कंट्री का टैग लेके क्या करना है? यहाँ पर जो रहने वाले लोग हैं, रहने वाले लोगों को अच्छी सुविधाएं नहीं मिलेगी, अच्छा घर नहीं मिलेगा, फिर 20 साल के बाद भी अगर वो स्लम्स में ही रहने वाले हैं, तो डेवलप सिटी का, डेवलप कंट्री का टैग इंडिया के लिए जस्टिफाइबल है ही नहीं। तो आई थिंक यहाँ पर तो काफी सारे थिंकर्स बैठे हुए, अभी थोड़े कम हो गए 2 दिन की उसमें पर फिर भी सब फूड फॉर थॉट, ये आज हम एक्ट नहीं करेंगे तो फ्यूचर जितना हम ब्राइट सोच रहे हैं उतना ब्राइट होगा नहीं। दूसरा, एज अ क्रेडाई, मैं आज क्रेडाई नेशनल में प्रेसिडेंट हूं और डेवलपर का रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी सर ने बताया, डेवलपर को ये, तो डेवलपर की रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी है, सिर्फ बिल्डिंग बनाना उसकी रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी नहीं है, वो डेवलपर को एजुकेशन पे भी ध्यान देना पड़ेगा, उसको लेबर स्किलिंग, क्योंकि आज स्किल लेबर की शॉर्टेज हर एक इंडस्ट्री, रियल एस्टेट तो फेस कर ही रहा है, पर एवरी इंडस्ट्री इन इंडिया इज फेसिंग द शॉर्टेज ऑफ स्किल लेबर। तो स्किलिंग के लिए वी आर डूइंग लॉट ऑफ थिंग्स इन क्रेडाई फॉर लेबर स्किलिंग, और हमारा टारगेट है कि 5 साल के अंदर हम 10 लाख लेबर को स्किल करें, और सेमी स्किल लेबर है उसको हाई स्किल करें। डेवलपर्स को भी हम स्किलिंग का ट्रेनिंग देते हैं। ऑन द पार्ट ऑफ दैट, as a Ganesh Housing, we are setting up a real estate university first time in India for post graduation course. It's called Grammy. Anil sir is championing that university. तो वो भी कर रहे। क्रेडाई एनवायरमेंट का भी फोकस, एनवायरमेंट के लिए भी क्रेडाई को ध्यान रखना चाहिए, और देयर आर लिमिटेशन, वी हैव टू एक्सेप्ट। अर्बन एरिया में एनवायरमेंट में जितना हो सकता है कर सकते हैं, पर उसके ज्यादा क्या करना चाहिए, यानी नेट जीरो की जब हम बात कर रहे हैं, कार्बन न्यूट्रल की हम बात कर रहे हैं, तो फॉरेस्टेशन, समवन गिव मी दैट आइडिया, और एक मेरे पहले की जो पैनल थी उसमें फॉरेस्टेशन का काफी डिस्कशन हुआ। तो क्रेडाई इज फोकसिंग ऑन द रिफॉरेस्टेशन राइट नाउ, और वी आर ऑलरेडी वर्किंग, और हम लोग काम कर रहे हैं 9000 एकड़ फॉरेस्ट एट नासिक। तो त्रयंबकेश्वर है, वहां पर 6 विलेजेस में 9000 एकड़ का फॉरेस्ट है, वहां ऑलरेडी हमने रिफॉरेस्टेशन का काम चालू कर दिया, और 3 साल में वो रिफॉरेस्टेशन हो जाएगा। एंड सेकंड फेज वी आर डूइंग 45,000 एकड़ ऑफ रिफॉरेस्टेशन इन नासिक ओनली। तो रिफॉरेस्टेशन एज अ ड्राइव चालू किया है क्रेडाई ने, और ये वेस्टर्न घाट में, नासिक में कर रहे हैं, और हम काफी और शहरों में भी, शहरों को अर्बन फॉरेस्ट भी बनाएंगे, और काफी फोकस है अभी रिफॉरेस्टेशन पे, और उसके साथ में बाकी जो फैसिलिटीज क्रिएट करना है वहाँ के लोगों के लिए, या उनके लिए जो रोजगार क्रिएट करना है उसको भी सब साथ में कर रहे हैं। आई थिंक what we can do, we are doing. Every citizen of India, they have to contribute for our country. Thank you very much. Jai Hind, Jai Bharat.
Thank you, Shekhar Bhai, for your insights from your own experience, and what CREDAI is also doing in terms of protecting environment and the development. Looking at the time, just to summarize the session, very interesting, thought process, which is looking at from the provision of the mass housing and slum-free cities. We are looking at some of these innovations and policies, reforms, as Shekhar Bhai also said that the policy around these satellite towns, and how we make it viable with the help of social infrastructure, and make it more viable and attractive for the residents. This will become quite a game changer if we implement some of these with very careful and careful planning, as well as its implementation. Sometimes what happens that infrastructure comes very late, and that creates bottleneck, and that creates it becomes a retarding factor in the success of some of these schemes. Looking at overall massive urbanization, we do need almost those 13 crores of housing and there is a challenge that how we provide and how make it more, affordable as well. This slum-free and the free housing coming out of this model will also act as a quite an important driver for meeting this demand. But at the same time, planned development, and we talk about China and then how we can see our landscape of our cities and the skyline of our cities, it is very much possible. And we need a good political will and also some of the policy drivers which can actually help create good quality of life in our Indian cities as well, and that is very much doable. We are a cognate group here sitting from land expertise to environment to policy making to NGOs to planners and the real estate developers. So I think this is really a great forum. Thank you ILDC for creating this and providing this opportunity to have this discussion for everybody, and would like to commend the ILDC team who has put in this all the event together and created very interesting discussion. We with all that, if there are any quick questions, we can actually ask while our panelists are here. We can have space for a couple of questions. So I can see one or two hands raised. So in that case, shall I invite the speakers on the stage, please? Because there are a couple of questions, so I think we can take those questions. So hand up there. So yes, you can shout out or okay.
मेरा दोनों पैनलिस्ट को सवाल है कि उसमें कम्युनिटी का इन्वॉल्वमेंट कितना रहता है। मेहता साहब ने जो पूरा बताया और हम मानते हैं प्री प्रायर इंफॉर्मेशन कंसेंट में, तो हाउ कम्युनिटी इन्वॉल्व इन प्लानिंग स्टेज एंड इम्प्लीमेंटिंग स्टेज?
For Dharavi or otherwise?
Dharavi and other.
Okay. So the process has been that Dharavi model was considered, like I said, a pie in the sky. And I had to market that model, it was not ready. And I had to first take blessings of Balasaheb Thackeray, because he was the main guy. And he said, unless you prove to me what you're talking on the plan, how can I tell you I'll support you? So, we prepared the whole master plan first, and they approved it. The sad part was that the obstructions did not come from politicians. They came from NGOs who were thriving with poverty. So one of my jobs was to convince 500 societies and committees of 500 societies. And I had to give, like I said, presentations. And we moved. So right from planning, first thinking some such thing can be done. Then it was a matter of planning. Then every stakeholder, which means I had to convince NGOs, I had to convince bureaucrats, I had to convince slum dwellers. Within slum dwellers, there are business people, industries, pollution making things, etc. So all of this we did, and the project stopped. Why? Because there was a bureaucratic sabotage. And then Balasaheb lost his election. Again it came back in 2004 with a Congress party. And the condition was that I had to get NOC, which means Mukesh Mehta has to get NOC from 9 government departments, urban development and MMRDA, MARDA, etc., etc. Collector and all that. After that, I had to get an NOC from 500 societies chairmen. Then the NGOs that operated there. Then the, councillors, municipal councillors. And then the MLAs and the MPs. If I succeeded in all of this, and then gave a detailed project report. Up to now, I've not been paid up, by the way. So everything on my risk, I took, and then they got convinced because at some point, Atal Bihari Vajpayee Sahab announced from the Red Fort in 2003 at the time of our 15th August 15th August speech, that he wants to make Mumbai slum-free based upon the model that I have given. Then the Maharashtra government got excited and this thing. So, in fact, typical architects, if I went to him, I have to ask him, you will have to give me the site plan, you have to give me this, you have to give me that. In that case, even the collector I have to coordinate. Slum dwellers is not my job, but I have to coordinate. So, that's why I've got triple PhD on this subject by now.
Thank you very much. Yes, one last question please here and we'll close the session.
गुड इवनिंग, मेरा नाम महेश गजेरा है. मेरा सवाल ये था, आपने सिर्फ लो कॉस्ट हाउसिंग और लो क्वालिटी भी बताया, तो क्या हम एफोर्डेबिलिटी की बात कर सकते हैं? एक तो चीज ये था. सेकंड जो है, ज्यादातर हम ओन हाउस की बात करते हैं, लेकिन आपने रेंटल हाउसिंग की एक अच्छी बात की, और वाकई में माइग्रेंट वर्करों के लिए रेंटल और एफोर्डेबल भी होना चाहिए, और साथ में भी उसका सोशल हाउसिंग भी होना चाहिए. तो उस पर थोड़ा और विस्तार से बात होती. फॉर द रेंटल में अभी अहमदाबाद में बहुत अच्छा ये प्रोजेक्ट चल रहा है ARH से, तो उसी प्रकार के ज्यादा भी हम प्रोजेक्ट करते हैं, तो शायद और भी हमारा हो सकता है. ठीक है.
Okay, two things. Before I came, Dharavi was being given away for free to any developer. Out of all Mumbai, the highest incentive was for Dharavi. When the government made me the consultant, I said, look, I was going to make bakra out of you because I have come as a developer. But now you made me a consultant, so you must demand premium from the developer. So for the first time in the history of the world, in slum projects, developers have come in to pay money. And today, thank God, Adani Saab is there. But he's made government 20% partner. And in that, all this quality of housing. So because if you plan well, you increase the value, you will confirm. So you increase the value, there's enough profit. And therefore it could be done. The rental housing is a simple concept. I have to shift people and therefore I have to give them some temporary houses. I'm saying, why temporary? Make him pay for it, then make him break for it, then make him send away something. So I'm saying, instead, you make pakka housing here. Give it away for free to the government. And because, and your premium you can't give that much less. And if you do that, when 10% comes, that means in future the government can give housing at rental, because the first day a slum dweller comes, he has no money to buy a house. And then as he grows, because if you build all the slums, 13,000 घर को 13,000 crore को भूल जाओ, 6 करोड़ भी बनाओगे ना, markets crash होने वाली है. And the housing will become affordable. Today they have stopped Dharavi, developers have stopped. Why? Because they are concerned कि 5 करोड़ square feet का extra sale area आएगा, तो हम क्या करेंगे? So all these kind of wheels within wheels stop the project, not politicians. Did I answer or did I answer your question? कि कुछ बचा है?
तो हो गया सर काफी. मेरा थोड़ा ये था कि माइग्रेंट की जिस प्रकार की नीड है सर शहरों में, वो यार देना नहीं चाहते. तो उसको किराए का मकान यदि एफोर्डेबल मिल सकता है तो वो बड़ा शॉर्ट हो सकता है.
आपकी बात एकदम सही है. जब माइग्रेंट आता है कोई भी सिटी में, तो उसके पास पैसा नहीं होता है और उसको घर चाहिए. और इंडिया के अंदर जो वर्ल्ड ओवर रेंटल हाउसिंग एकदम ऑर्गेनाइज है, इंडिया में रेंटल हाउसिंग अवेलेबल ही नहीं. तो उसको एक अच्छे एक रीजनेबल रेट पे रेंटल हाउसिंग नहीं मिलता है, तब जाके उसको कंपलसरी स्लम में रहना पड़ता है. दैट्स हाउ स्लम्स आर क्रिएटेड इन इंडिया. तो वी डू, पहले तो हमारी रेंटल पॉलिसी खराब थी. अभी रेंटल पॉलिसी को जो लीगल पॉलिसी है उसको चेंज करने की जरूरत है। दूसरा, रेंटल हाउसिंग के प्रोजेक्ट्स इंडिया में नहीं बन रहे क्योंकि जो यील्ड है रेंटल का, हाउसिंग में यील्ड है 2 to 3% और कमर्शियल प्रॉपर्टी में रेंटल का यील्ड है 8 to 10%। तो 8 to 10% इज जस्टिफाइबल यील्ड फॉर एनी बिजनेसमैन और एनी सिंगल इंडिविजुअल टू इन्वेस्ट हिज मनी। तो 2 to 3% यील्ड में लोग इन्वेस्ट करना नहीं चाहते, इसलिए रेंटल हाउसिंग बनाते नहीं है। दैट्स व्हाई एज अ क्रेडाई हम लोग ये पॉलिसी के लिए गवर्नमेंट में कर रहे हैं कि भाई रेंटल हाउसिंग है उसमें क्या बेनिफिट दे सकते हैं। कोई अगर रेंटल हाउसिंग का प्रोजेक्ट करना चाहता है तो उसको एफएसआई कॉस्ट कैसे कम कर सकते हैं या उसकी कंस्ट्रक्शन कॉस्ट कैसे नीचे ला सकते हैं और टैक्सेशन में क्या बेनिफिट। तो रेंटल हाउसिंग, आपकी एकदम बात सही है, बैंग ऑन है कि रेंटल हाउसिंग ये जो स्लम्स है उसको रोकना है, नए स्लम्स क्रिएट करने का। तो रेंटल हाउसिंग इज मोस्ट इम्पोर्टेंट थिंग इन इंडिया।
इसीलिए 10% जो स्लम्स के हाउसिंग है वो फ्री, गवर्नमेंट को फ्री दे देंगे। 9,000 करोड़ के है, वो गवर्नमेंट को फ्री देंगे और गवर्नमेंट जो नए लोग आते हैं उसको अफोर्डेबल रेट से 3 लाख घर महाराष्ट्र में टू बिगिन विथ, और जैसे आगे चले और इनकम बढ़े दे कैन अफोर्ड। दैट इज गिवन टू गवर्नमेंट फॉर फ्री, जस्ट 3 lakhs. You guys should work with us.
Yes, please. Okay. We can say
स्लम डुवेलर्स के लिए अर्बन में लैंड राइट्स ना देके क्यों हाउसिंग देने के लिए इतना तत्पर है? तो पहले तो उनको लैंड राइट्स चाहिए ना, क्योंकि एक तो मिला है, उनका मान लो 3 बेटा है तो उनको 1 मकान हम दे देंगे, 10 साल के बाद उनको 3 मकान चाहिए, तो उनको हम लैंड राइट्स क्यों पहले नहीं देंगे? ये थोड़ा मेटा जी बताएंगे तो अच्छा है।
आज क्या है, धारावी जैसी जगह 750 डेंसिटी है पर एकड़, 750 लैंड राइट। कुछ लोग बोलते हैं, कुछ एक्टिविस्ट बोलते हैं कि स्लम ड्वेलर्स को राइट दे दो डेवलपमेंट करने का। व्हाई कांट दे डू इट? अभी इवन एक्सपर्ट्स लाइक हिम hire architects for some reason. There are reasons why you do it. That's how these efficiencies come. Now, land right, where will you give? You will not be able to achieve in smaller cities. For example, Nagpur, which is also my client, they are giving patta. But that is creating vertical slums. Because the moment you give that land right, they are going to build low-cost housing. And you've seen the images of what happened. That experiment has been tried in smaller cities. It does not work. Even if it works, you should still give land right where densities are not high, but then get developers, catch people like him to say at least quality will be perfect and you have to give this quality. The slum dweller does not have that capability. वो काम करने जाए या उसका घर का supervision करे.
yes.
So in a sense, they are trying, they are working on it, but it can only happen in low density areas. And may I give a small correction? Sir, 2,600 small towns and cities have slums. So the metropolitan only will not solve your problem.
One last question here. Yes, please. Yes. Last question.
सर मेरा क्वेश्चन है सिटीजन के पर्सपेक्टिव में है। मैं पुणे में रहता हूँ। अभी पुणे में स्लम डेवलपमेंट तो है और रीडेवलपमेंट का भी चल रहा है। समझो कि अभी एक आधा एकड़ में एक सोसाइटी स्प्रेड हुआ था, छोटे छोटे सोसाइटी, कम हाइट, कम एफएसआई यूज करते हैं। अभी नया गवर्नमेंट ने जो प्रोसीजर दिया है उसमें टावर्स खड़े हो रहे। तो मेरा ये कहना है कि जब इसको सैंक्शन देते हैं तो जो बढ़ने वाली जो डेंसिटी आपने जो बोली, वो रहने वालों की डेंसिटी जब बढ़ेगी तो पानी का डिमांड बढ़ेगा, पार्किंग के लिए जगह लगेगी, या रास्ते पर जो ट्रैफिक जाने वाला है उसके लिए जब ये सैंक्शन देते तब उसका कोई थॉट देते क्या नहीं देते? क्योंकि मैं तो मुझे ऐसा कुछ पता नहीं चला।
अंडरस्टूड योर क्वेश्चन। सो ओरिजिनली धारावी में FSI 2.5 था, धारा, और उसका बिल्ड करके हम TDR, बैंड्रा, Santa Cruz, Andheri, West में ले जाते. I told the government this is wrong. In Dharavi, you give me FSI 4 and ask me as a developer to do all the infrastructure, so I cannot spoil other suburbs. अभी भी जो policy है ना, it is unfortunately politically motivated. Otherwise, the government should take control and say जितने slums है, जितने redevelopment है, हमारे 2050 की vision से master plan अब बनाते हैं, and then we will give it to developers like Mr. Adani got, and many others will get. So in that case, you come to us and take away this slum cluster or this redevelopment cluster. एक आधा एकड़, firstly, even people within here, I tell you, आपको घर बनाना हो ना, to brief the architect correctly, you will not be able to do. It's a very complicated matter. And in that, we are allowing a middle income person in the poor side has worked very hard to then say कि ठीक है आपकी सोच से आप घर बना दो, and then you get the kind of cities that we have. My Guruji was Charles Korea used to say all our cities look alike because they are chaotic. The simple thing is it's chaos. So instead we should have planned, controlled manner, which in fact like what Shikarbai said also, in a sense, satellite cities have to be that planned growth. From outside, from the beginning, Mumbai is doing it quite a bit now. We're building a lot. But in a sense, we have to think कि 50 साल जैसे उन्होंने सोचा, वो सोच होनी चाहिए कि 50 साल, not even 47, 50 साल के बाद मेरी सिटी, आज अहमदाबाद में देखो, नई सिटी बनाई है और ट्रैफिक जैम. Because we think of today's traffic, not that we are going to make so many cars and what will happen. I'm not blaming anyone. This is the mindset, unfortunately.
Thank you. And this is nearly 6 o'clock. Very interesting discussion. And thank you to all who have stayed that long. And a big round of applause to our panelists as well. And we can have a quick picture.
जन्म वहाँ की रिकॉर्डिंग बंद कर दो ना.